Hello, my name is Kiriath, and I don't want to alarm you, but it kind of feels like Games Workshop has actually listened to people. So yesterday, a pretty significant thing happened. A whole bunch of changes were dropped in what is going to be a now quarterly update to the rules for Warhammer 40k, and they've included some pretty big changes in what they're calling the balanced data slate, including all the points changes from the upcoming chapter approved, which have been moved to now for Adeptus Mechanicus and for Drukhari. They've done a bunch of shifting around of stuff and made some pretty massive alterations, and they're actually going to do this every 3 months and try and keep on. I'm just kind of blown away. They said quite a while ago that they wanted things like a living edition and to have stuff updated frequently, and that's not been the case. For quite some time, there's been a couple of factions, namely Mechanicus and Drukhari, that have absolutely dominated everywhere, and nothing was done about it for the longest time. And now suddenly they've made some pretty big, significant changes, almost seemingly out of nowhere. Now, of course, they won't be properly out of nowhere. They will have been collating a bunch of data and stuff from various tournaments and talking to people who know far more about this stuff than I do. But it's just the fact that they seem to have suddenly committed to actually keeping things up to date and reacting to stuff that's happening in a timely manner, instead of just allowing certain things to go unchecked for months upon months upon months. It's actually a good step. It's actually the right way to approach things. It does, of course, make things a bit more complex in terms of keeping up with rules, and it means you've got more stuff to keep on top of in terms of knowing what your army does and how things are affected and things like point changes. But overall, it's more healthy for the game as a whole, and I have to admit, there's a couple of things in here that I personally am very invested in as someone who has got a Chaos Knights army and who is also partway through finishing an armoured company. Let's take a look at what they've actually done, because there is some cool stuff in here. There is also one thing that I think they've overlooked, but we'll talk about that in a second. So, this is it. This is the balanced data slate, and right at the very top you will notice something kind of significant. A universal matched play rule. When mustering your army for a match play game, it cannot include more than one aircraft model if you are playing a combat patrol or incursion size game, more than 2 aircraft models if you are playing a strike force size game, and more than 3 aircraft models if you are playing an onslaught sized game. So, if you are doing 2,000 points, you are looking at 2 aircraft. By the look of things, this actually isn't great. There is an issue here, and it's a very specific niche issue that I hope they do address. I guess it would be an FAQ for the FAQ, because on the one hand that cuts down on things like AdMech flyers, on the other hand that also completely shafts airborne Tempestus Scions. Now, I know that that's not something that you maybe might see all that often, but it's a really nice, fluffy, thematic list. It's really fun, and now you can't do it, which is kind of sucky, because it's basically, I think it's a case of the Valkyrie has just been hit in the crossfire of trying to deal with other problematic flyers, which is kind of a shame, because an airdropped Tempestus Scions list, I mean, it's perfect for what that army is. It works really well. It's super thematic for them, but now it's just not possible to do, which is a shame, and I kind of hope that they look at that and go, oh, hang on, this thing here, this wasn't an issue. This is just now caught in the crossfire of changes to fix something that was an issue. And I only mentioned this because a while ago I did look at doing something like that. It kind of came down between an armoured company and doing a kind of all-aircraft in Tempestus Scions list. And so it's still kind of been in the back of my head as maybe an expansion option. But this kind of puts that in the grave, kind of. Who knows, we might get an update to the update that actually switches that a little bit for them. It'd be nice. So as you can see on page 2, there is a bunch of Adeptus Mechanicus points updates. We won't go through all of that because that would take literally forever. This is available on the Warcom site, so I'll link it in the description so you can go through the changes yourself. And same for Drukhari, so on page 3 there's a bunch of points updates for Drukhari as well. But the things that I'm excited about, admittedly, are Astra Militarum and Chaos Knights, for obvious reasons, because those are the 2 forces that I'm working on the most at the moment. But there are some nice things elsewhere as well. So we'll start with the nerf. We'll go for the nerf first, because there's like an even mix of cool stuff that adds things in for armies and makes them that little bit better, and stuff that outright properly smacks stuff around. Deservedly so, I think it's fair to say. So we've got Points increases for Adeptus Mechanicus and Drukhari. For Orcs, when mustering an Orcs army, it cannot include more than one of each of the following units: the Boomdackers Nazwagons, Custom Booster Blasters, Mega Track, Scrap Jets, Rocket Truck Swig Buggies, and Shock Jump Dragsters. Saying all of those names one after the other is like some sort of horrendous, like, speaking exercise. Oh dear God. So basically, you cannot just spam one of a buggy over and over and over and over and over and over again. You can't do that anymore, which is addressing an issue with buggy spam, which is why they've done it. You can still fit like a bunch of buggies in a list, but you can't have as many of them repeated, if that makes sense. So it kind of deals with that issue that has been something of a problem for quite a few armies to go up against in terms of competitive stuff. Something that's nice, but doesn't do exactly what I was kind of hoping it would do, is the Chaos Space Marines change. So Death to the False Emperor now is each time a model with this ability makes a melee attack, a hit roll of 6+ scores 1 additional hit. It's just a blanket upgrade, which is obviously better than it was, without question. However, any chance of an additional wound? Like, I know that... Okay, look. I know that they would need the points increase, okay? They would need the points change to reflect the additional wound that Chaos Space Marines are supposed to have, because all Space Marines are supposed to have the additional wound. All the Firstborn stuff has it, except for Chaos Space Marines. But previously it's been a case of, well, they won't implement the additional wound because that would mean changing points values. In this very document, they have done vast sweeping changes to 2 entire armies, changing almost, like, just so much stuff. So much stuff has been changed. But Chaos Space Marines still don't have that additional wound. Now, the chances are they're going to get their codex sooner rather than later, but it's still taking just I would suggest that little bit too long, maybe, for them to be brought up to parity with other Space Marines. Like, if Firstborn Space Marines didn't have that additional wound, I don't think it would bother me that much. I don't think I would be that fussed about it, but we currently have a situation where basically every Chaos Space Marine you turn, like every Space Marine you turn traitor, is, for some reason, just not as good as the ones who stayed loyal. And it's just down to the schedule of codex releases and the like. I know that's the case, but it just doesn't feel great, you know? And it feels really weird to not see that included on the basis of, well, when it comes to points changes and stuff, you know, wanting to condense all of that together when you have points changes in this document as is. It's just any chance of having that additional wound, it'd be nice. It would definitely be nice. But there is an upgrade for them in there. So while we are missing that one little element, at least there is something else going on. Necrons have had a pretty big change as well. So Necrons had this weird thing where the core keyword, it's kind of like I would suggest like there's like a foundation element to the core keyword, right? But Necrons, not a lot was covered under the core keyword. It wasn't as like wide-reaching, the stuff that was covered by that keyword. And they've added a bunch of stuff to the core keyword. So Canoptech Acanthrites, Canoptech Reanimator, the Canoptech Wraiths, Flayed Ones, Locust Destroyers, Locust Heavy Destroyers, Ophidian Destroyers, Scorpec Destroyers, Triarch Praetorians. Like, that opens up a lot of stuff, because that means all of that stuff can be affected by stratagems that previously they weren't affected by. So it kind of opens up more in terms of what you can do with them, which is a really good thing. I mean, anything that adds variety to list building and allows you to take stuff that previously, like, you may have avoided because, well, I'm not going to take that because it can't be affected by this really good stratagem. You don't have that issue with a lot of the stuff in the codex now. It's kind of baffling as to why they were kind of lacking in terms of, like, core units before, but it is something that's now fixed. So that's nice to see. That's cool to see. So as I've been editing this, I've just got to the bit where we talk about the different units having the core keyword added to them for the Necrons. And then I remembered, Scorpec Destroyers, you can take them in, like, units of 6, can't you? Does that not... I think it's... Yeah, you can take them in units of 6, and you can have 3 of those units of 6. Does that mean that you can fit 18 Scorpec Destroyers in a Night Scythe? Because I feel like that's probably not what Games Workshop were intending. I don't know why you would. I'm pretty sure that would be a terrible idea. Like, is there any guarantee it would even reach the enemy? But, you know, I mean, an option maybe? When it comes to Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, I'm so happy about this. All vehicle models with the Imperial Knights or Chaos Knights faction keyword gain the following ability: Towering Foe. This model counts as 5 models when determining control of an objective marker. If this model is a Titanic model, it instead counts as 10 models when determining control of an objective marker. Funnily enough, that is exactly what me and Winters did in the battle report that we filmed a few weeks ago, where we were doing objective-based play. My Chaos Knights were basically defending a city that had been overtaken by Chaos, and he was attempting to take them back with Grey Knights, take the city back. And we did objectives, and we said at the time that the best way to do it would be if the Knights counted as 10 models for the purpose of securing objectives. It's also the same way that it works in Age of Sigmar. Monsters count as 10 models. So the fact that Knights of all flavours are now getting that is really good. It's good. I mean, it opens up options for them in a really big way. So I'm really happy to see that, because it's, like I say, I mean, it's already in Age of Sigmar. And one of the nice things about using my Soulblight Gravelord's army was the fact that I have these big monstrous creatures, and, well, actual monsters, and they count as 10 for securing stuff. So it makes sense that they've done this. I'm happy that they have. In addition to that, if every model from your army has either the Chaos Knights or Imperial Knights faction keyword, excluding Agents of the Imperium or unaligned units, then all Armiger class and War Dog models from your army gain the Objective Secured ability, which is also really, really good. A nice upgrade to them there. Again, really happy with that. I like that a lot. Now, the thing that I'm really excited about, to be honest, is Astra Militarum, weirdly. So they get to change the save characteristic of their Leman Russes to 2+. Now, why am I happy about this? Funnily enough, it's because my armoured company, the current list for it, is 7 Leman Russes and a Baneblade. So having that extra, just that little bit extra on the armour, having that 2+ instead of 3+, makes me super happy. Admittedly, it does mean that the Baneblade is even more inefficient and not good. Like, it costs too much to take. It's just not a good option. Like, it's just not, you shouldn't really put it in an army. But I really like the idea of it, and I like the idea of a lot like a Titanic unit with 7 smaller tanks around it. I'm going to keep it in there because it was never built to be, like, hugely competitive to begin with. But it does now make the Baneblade feel, and its variants, just feel a bit still not good. Just more not good than it was not good before, which is a little bit of a shame, especially when you consider, right, when using the tank orders ability of a regiment tank commander model, you can select one friendly regiment vehicle unit, excluding Titanic units, within 6 inches of that regiment tank commander model, instead of selecting a regiment Leman Russ unit. I'm sorry, you're neglected once again. You don't even get tank orders. Everyone else gets tank orders. You don't. Chimeras, Hellhounds, Sentinels, the lot, they all get them. They all get tank orders, but you... No. Is there no justice? Is there no justice for these poor models? Can they not catch a break? Well, I mean, when we get a new codex, then maybe there'll be something cool in there, but for now, why am I even taking this in my armoured company? I should take other stuff. But it looks cool, and that's the important bit. That's the only bit that matters, right? He says, whilst looking at a sweep of changes designed primarily for competitive stuff. And finally, each time a regiment unit with the Voice of Command ability issues one of the following orders to a regiment infantry unit, that same order can be issued to one or more other friendly regiment infantry units, excluding officers, that are within 6 inches of the unit that order was originally issued to. So take aim, first rank fire, second rank fire, bring it down, forward for the Emperor, get back in the fight, fix bayonets. If you shout it at one, it now applies to another within 6 inches. That's a really cool change. That's also quite a thematic change. It just makes it feel like the officers are shouting even louder than they did before, which, I mean, very Imperial Guard. Very nice. I do like it. Now, just to give you a brief idea as to just how sweeping the changes are for the Admech and Drakari. Admittedly, I'm not familiar with the points costs of what they're at currently, but it would be definitely worth going through and seeing what's different. I don't know if the app has updated yet, and I don't know whether Battle Scribe will have updated, but it'll be worth going through if you have those forces and just doing a bit of comparison to find out exactly what's changed for you, because you don't want to get caught out, do you? So there you go, there's some pretty big changes in there. There's some pretty sweeping changes. The fact that they've said that this is going to be like every quarter, and they're going to keep on top of this, and they're going to keep updating things and reacting to stuff that's happening in terms of the competitive side of things, I mean, that's good. That's just good to me. Admittedly, it does once again throw into question just how efficient the whole paper codex thing is, but that's something that I doubt will ever go away at this point. I think probably we're just stuck with that for the long term. I know you can unlock them in the app, but there's still the whole thing of keeping up with that. I'd much prefer like a monthly subscription service that isn't exactly Warhammer Plus, that is more kind of, here's the rules for all the codexes and off you go, but that's probably unlikely to happen in the foreseeable future anyway. And it does mean there's more to keep track of. It does mean you're going to have to be more on the ball in terms of keeping up on points values and just the overall rules for your forces. But I mean, if it means them reacting to stuff that is outright broken or overpowered or is dominating certain sectors and stuff, then I mean, I can't really complain. It means they're actually paying attention, which, let's be honest, sometimes it can feel as though they don't. So them acknowledging that there is a problem and actually taking steps to fix it, I would argue is definitely a nice refreshing change. And I would just hope that they keep up with it, to be honest with you. So there you go. Those are the changes. I suggest you go and take a look at them yourself and have a look at your various armies and just see how they are affected, especially if you're doing Admech or Drakari. You'll want to go through and really make sure that you know how much your army comes to in points now, because there'll be significant changes to that, I'm sure. What do you reckon of these changes? Good? Bad? Do you think this is actually a positive step? Or would you prefer them to actually do this more often than every quarter? Do you think every quarter is the right way to do it? Should they scrap things like Chapter Approved and just bring this stuff out for free to try and keep the game as balanced as it can really be? Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe that's a whole different video. That might be a whole different video. Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to. And as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games and for Noble Knight Games if you're in the US, which you can use to support the channel if you would like. I leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.